Hello and welcome to another episode of 1000 Actually Fun Books, where we review books of every genre. And normally I review a novel, a single book, but today we're doing an interlude. We're doing picture books today. Whole slew of picture books, and we're doing 5 books today because picture books are so stinking short. And we're going to do this because I'm celebrating that I did 50 books that I could recommend. So I've done more than that in total episodes, but some of them were disappointments or just okay. So as a celebration of that, I'm going to do this interlude with picture books, and at the end do some statistics about my channel, like what kind of emphasis on what genres I've been doing, that kind of thing. Okay, picture books. So I decided to do, I love picture books, especially when my kids were little. They have outgrown picture books, sadly, but when they were little, I read them lots of picture books, all the time. And then, I looked up some of the best picture books, lists out there and stuff, and kind of compiled my own best of picture books. And as part of that, I picked 5 categories. I picked good plot, storyline, message, so I'm emphasizing the story itself. Lyrical text, so this is not necessarily the story, this is the poetic text itself. 3 is going to be illustrations, so beautiful illustrations. That's one of the best things about picture books, they have good illustrations. 4 is going to be a classic book, something that's been around and loved forever. And 5 is just going to be an other category because I couldn't do just 4. There are just too many, so I have to pick 5 books. So those are the categories that I selected books out of. And the books that I selected today are not necessarily my number 1 in any of these categories, although they're really high up there. I would say they're in my top 10. So these are some books, and sometimes they represent the whole series of books by an author or something like that. So the first one I'm going to look at is based on story. So this would be the Elephant and Piggy books by Mo Willems. He has done a whole bunch of books, and they're all universally good. They're all great. Elephant and Piggy books are fun and silly and usually, not always, but usually have a good message. So this one I liked is one of my favorites of that series. The kids loved these series. So they have short, almost comic book-like illustrations and word bubbles that go through talking about whatever it is that they're doing. As you can see, only a couple words per page. The illustrations are not anything to write home about, but they have a lot of emphasis on extreme emotions or exaggerated actions, that kind of thing, that make it fun. The thing that I liked about this particular one, out of the entire series, which I would recommend basically every book in the series for young kids, is this particular one had a fun way of dealing with foods kids don't like. So almost every book, and there are a lot of them out there dealing with picky eaters and kids not liking food, almost always the moral is try it, you might like it. And this book doesn't do that. It doesn't end that way. Piggy makes a food, and Elephant, I'm not sure if it's pronounced Gerald or Gerald. I usually pronounce it Gerald. I wasn't sure. But anyway, Gerald looks at that and goes, ew, that looks awful. And Piggy's like, try it, please, it's so wonderful. And Elephant's like, okay, I'll try it. So he tries it, and he hates it. But at the end he said, I'm glad I tried it because I love you. I didn't love the food, but I love you, so I'm glad I tried it. And what a great moral story. The lesson for a child is you may not like everything, because that's realistic. The children are not going to like everything. But they try it because somebody made it with love. Your parent made it and loved you, so, that's just amazing. I love this book. So it's a fantastic book I recommend for a fantastic story. Okay, my next recommendation is One Day in the Eucalyptus Tree by Daniel Bernstrom and illustrated by Brendan Wenzel. Okay, so this one has beautiful text. The way that it talks about things just sounds so... It's the kind of thing that you want to read because it's so lyrical. Okay, I'm going to do a page here. I'll tell you the story first. It is about a little boy, a snake gobbles him up. And then the boy tricks the snake by telling him to keep eating and keep eating and keep eating until he eats too much and basically, throws everything up. Which, if you look at it, the storyline, it's kind of weird. It's kind of a little bit gross almost, both being eaten and then being thrown up. Although a kid doesn't tend to think of it in that way. It's too silly, it's too unrealistic for a kid to think of the grossness factor. It's kind of like the song about, the old lady who swallowed a fly, or, I'm being swallowed by a boa constrictor, those kind of things where it's silly, but if you think too hard about it, it's actually not all that great. But anyway, so here is the boy telling the snake to eat more. "Oh, surely, very surely, Mr. Snake," said the boy. "There is room, still more room, so much more to enjoy." Munch, munch, came a crunch from the leaves of the tree. "Oh, a rare kind of bear munching tasty, tasty greens." Up, up, snaked the snake from his place in the leaves, and gobbled up the bear with the quaily, waily hair. One day in the eucalyptus tree. So you can see how it's beautiful lyrical text. It's kind of silly, like quaily, waily hair, and the emphasis on one day in the eucalyptus tree, that kind of thing that doesn't always, isn't always fantastic. But I mean, it is fantastic because it's beautiful text, but it's not like it means anything. Anyway, so I really, really liked the text in this, and my oldest kid, this was basically his favorite book because it was such a fun book. There's a couple other things. So if you see the size over here, this is the stomach, and it increases in size as more animals are eaten. And that's pretty neat. The lump of the snake gets bigger as he eats more food, until at the end everything comes out. And then it has a surprise, the very last page of the book that has no text, after everything has happened, kind of has a surprise, cute ending where you look at that and go to a kid, "What do you think is going to happen next?" And I'm not going to give that away. That's a spoiler. So anyway, this is a cute, I loved the poetic words in this book. The only downside of this is does have some words that a child can't read it to themselves. So like the Elephant and Piggy books, a child could probably read those usually to themselves. This one, eucalyptus, what child knows how to pronounce eucalyptus, right? So it does have some words that are a little bit more challenging. This would be a book that a parent would have to read to a child. Okay, my next one is going to be a classic book, and I selected Monster at the End of this book. There are so many fantastic classic books, and I will do some others in the future when I do another 50 fantastic books that I recommend. I'll do another interlude with picture books, and I'll pick different classic books. But this one I did, The Monster at the End of this book, starring Grover. Hello, everybody. So this one is such a unique idea. So if you haven't ever read this, this is Grover at the beginning is like, "Don't turn the page. There's a monster at the end of the book, and I'm so scared of monsters. Don't turn the page up the bridge." So Grover is talking to the person reading the book. It's breaking the fourth wall. It's breaking the illusion that this is just a story. In fact, it's talking to your child, assuming the child is the one reading the book. Or you as the adult can be like, "Are you gonna turn the page? Oh no, it's too hard to turn the page." Because Grover nailed the page to the next page, right? "It's too hard to turn, can I do it?" And have the child turn the page. It's interactive in that respect. And then at the end, of course, because I'm totally giving spoilers for this, is that it turns out to only be Grover at the end of the book. He's the monster. And so he's like, oh, I was totally okay with this. I wasn't scared. Were you scared? No, no, no. That kind of idea at the end. And so it's a great idea. It's a fantastic, unique idea. There's hardly anything like this. There is a sequel with Elmo for kids who love Elmo, because Sesame Street is actually not a big thing for preschoolers, so they might not recognize Grover anymore because there's so many other offerings for preschoolers. This, at the time this came out, Sesame Street was basically it. Anyways, but there is one with Elmo that does almost the exact same thing if you would prefer an Elmo emphasis. But anyway, I love that book. It was fantastic. It happens to be one of the little golden books. Okay, my next one is going to be illustrations. So, The Waterhole by Graham Bass. Now, he's done a lot of books that all have amazing illustrations. These, you can kind of see, I'm going to do the last picture because it's kind of colorful and stuff. You can see they're kind of that hyper-realistic, very detailed, lots of stuff going on. Okay, what makes this book interesting is a couple things. One of which is the books have holes in them. So the idea behind this, the plot is, you can kind of see there's a hole there. The idea is that there's a water hole, and it starts out fine, but it keeps getting smaller. And it's also a counting book. So one rhino drinking at the water hole, snort, splosh, delicious. So hardly any words, but it's a counting. One rhino, and then you go to the next page and it's 2 tigers, and so you could just have very basic, if it just stopped right there, it would still be an amazing book. But wait, there's more. I'm gonna pull up a close-up of the illustration of this first page. Okay, so this is an illustration. I just did a copy-paste off of where it's on Amazon. And if you can see here, you've got your hole and you've got your animal, but look at the top. You've got a silhouette of several animals. Down at the bottom, silhouettes of several animals. And what you will find in here is there are hidden animals. So the lion, look at the lion's face. It's right here. You see eye, nose, a mouth. There's the lion. And the zebra, you can see there's ears and eyeballs and nose and its back. It's right there. And an elephant, you can kind of see its trunk is right there with a tusk right there. And a antelope. There's the face and the back and the legs kind of right there. So it has a look and find for animals. In addition to that, the frogs. I believe it starts out with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frogs that are, very well, you can see them really well. And they actually start disappearing as you go further and further into the book. There are fewer frogs, but there's always frogs. So you could have a child find frogs, or you could have the child find the animals that are hidden in the leaves. You can kind of see a monkey face there, a wildebeest face there, a leopard face up there. Anyway, that is amazing illustrations that the author can do so many different things on top of itself all at once. The illustrations are incredible. There's another frog up there. So anyway, it's the kind of book where you look at a page and look at a page and look at a page, and it's there's more to find. So this is not a book that has a great story, has great lyrical text, but the illustrations are amazing. So I totally recommend his book for this. He also did one about alphabet, Animalia, I think is what it's called, where it's everything on the page has to do with that a letter. So everything, very cluttered on the page, all starting with the letter A. That one's another amazing book by him. He's done some that are kind of mystery books, and I didn't like those as much because a kid cannot solve the mysteries. But these, where it's visually, it's just incredible. Okay, my last book, so I picked an other. So this one I'm not picking because of the story or necessarily the lyrical text, although it really is kind of that way. It's not a classic yet, although it probably will be, and definitely not for the illustrations. This is The Book with No Pictures. So this picture book is one my kids loved because it is silly. What it is it makes the reader, the parent, say silly things. Like, see, there's no pictures, there's just text. It says, "My only friend in the whole wide world is a hippo named Boo Boo Butt." And kids think that that's hilarious, that a parent needs to say something like that. Or I have to sing about, "Glug, glug, glug, my face is a bug. I eat ants for breakfast right off the rug." Right? And you kind of almost have to sing that. So my kids loved it because it was silly and made mom say silly things. Now, as a parent, I can't say I loved that book. This one was a book that I'm kind of like, oh, not that one again. But it was still really good because the kids loved it. They were really engaged with it. They laughed. They thought it was funny. They kept saying, "Get that book again. Let's do that one again." That kind of book. So yes, fun books. So those are my 5 books. I really like Slop, Eucalyptus Tree, Monster at the end of the book, which I forgot to say the author. That one actually, it doesn't say the author on this one. Oh, it's written by John Stone. And then the book with no pictures is written by B.J. Novak. So I needed to make sure I said the authors on those. So those are my recommended if you have a small child who's picture book level. These are books that I highly recommend. Highly recommend. They were fantastic books, all for different reasons. Okay, so I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to do some, because this is an interlude, talking a little bit about my YouTube channel and the genres of the books and how many, what percentage were good books versus not good books. So I'm going to bring up a couple pie charts that I made. Okay, this is not super big, but you could probably see what's going on here. I was just doing a pie chart based on genre, on what it is that I have read the most and the least of. So the most is fantasy. You can kind of see that's that dark blue one. Then at 24 books. By the way, these are not, like if you add up the numbers, it's going to be way more than the total of books I've read because some of them overlap. Like you can have an adventure fantasy or a action western or a classic historical fiction, right? So some books have multiple genres, and it is just my personal opinion what the genre is, because they don't always, you can make a judgment call whether something is a adventure versus an action or something. Okay, fantasy is my biggest thing. Then we have historical fiction is my next largest genre. Then action, adventure, and you can kind of see that's pretty much half, although sci-fi is just one book less at 11 books versus 12 or 12. So you kind of see that those are probably my main books, with mystery being next. Then the next 2 are not actually genres. We have kids books and classic books. So both of those aren't technically genres. One of them is an age range for the audience of the book, and the other one is just how old a book is. Coming back to genres is romance, slightly smaller. Then we have an other category. So this is ones that don't really fit. I mean, I only have one of something and I don't intend to have a lot of. So that would be horror, poetry, anthologies, maybe comedy, something like that where it doesn't fit anything else. Smaller than that is the literature genre. So that would be something that doesn't really fit into any other category. Suspense, small there. Graphic, oh, whoops, I missed one. This one is nonfiction, actually. It's pretty small, only 4 books. Suspense is also fairly small and only 4 books. And then one of each, I've done one graphic novel, that was the Calvin and Hobbes, and one Western, which obviously I need to do more Western because that's a tiny little sliver of only one book. So those are the genres. And then I also did a small little chart on whether they were good books, okay books, or disappointments. So as you can see, the vast majority of books that I've done, I have liked and recommend. They were good books. Then we have a good chunk of just okay books and 7 disappointments so far, which isn't a bad ratio. Almost, what would you say, 2/3 of the books are good recommended books. So that's good. I'm pretty happy with that. So I know this is not my usual thing. I usually do novels and stuff, but this is a review of all genres, so I wanted to also include the picture book genres, even though I won't be doing these very often. Yeah, I do recommend them if you're interested. I will continue going back to my regularly scheduled program next time with a mystery book. And it was the Christmas Carol mystery. I'm in the middle of reading that. So anyway, thank you for watching my weird interlude episode.